Wow. 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 Man, I've been using that emoji a lot lately on social media. Just saying, what about last night? Man, what do you got to say about that?
Man, after last night, it simply confirms what I've been saying in my whole mind for the last 6-7 months. We are so in trouble in America. We just basically in trouble.
Man. Well, before we get to this mortuary service for our country, let's do some post-debate analysis. This is going to be a very important show on today, Wayne Carlen Show. Let's get it. Okay, let's welcome you back to the Wayne Carlen Show for September 30th. And man, this might be the most important show we've ever done. And I know I've said that a couple times in the past because it seems like every week there's a new thing that we have to address. But this one, wow. I know we can be very cynical sometimes about the events, especially of what happened last night. But we also have to sit back and realize how serious this is for the future of our country. You know, so with that in mind, our entire show today is going to be dedicated, committed to what most of us all saw last night. And if you're watching this show, I'm sure you watched it as well. The presidential, or some might call it the unpresidential debate. And we're going to see if we can help point Americans to what we think is a better way, or as the Bible calls it, a more excellent way.
Yeah, it's good, man. You bring up that Bible thing because I really think that's kind of what we need. We need some divine intervention in scenarios like this, you know, because these are some tough times. We really do need God. And in some situations, you know, you got two people pitted against each other, and sometimes both of them, and I would say, have acceptable views, or are you accepting something from one of them or the other? But in situations like last night, it just kind of descended so rapidly with both of them going down that you didn't want to grab onto either one of them. And so it was like one of those cases where I just don't want to be associated. And that's why I made one post saying, I don't know if I'm more embarrassed or ashamed. I don't know which one of those emotions best mirrors the way that I actually feel. And so that's why we're going to kind of go to the show where we really do some analysis. I think what we're going to try to do is pull some good out of what we saw, or at least do some very good analysis so that people can put this stuff in proper perspective. And so this is what we're going to call in our show debate post-mortem. So we're trying to say, it's like that there's, after somebody's died, they do this post-mortem thing where they kind of evaluate what happened. So we're kind of doing that with that debate because we feel like there were some bodies left everywhere after last night. So that's what we got on our show today.
Yeah, I did a post late last night too. I sat there for a minute and I basically put up a picture like you have right here and just saying, how did we come to this America? You know, and I know, you know, a lot of people might look at that differently, but I just think we can be so much better. So, you know, today we're going to really deal with this. We're going to kind of forego, we normally talk about some natural disasters. And right here in my backyard, no more than 20 miles from here, we've had another fire in Napa County, Sonoma County. And a lot of homes been destroyed. So we'll touch base on that again next opportunity. But we really got to dive into what happened last night. So, man, what do you think? Who won the debate? I guess that's the first question people are asking.
Yeah, that's the question everybody's asking. And they always do that on those MSNBC, CNN, Fox. They always talk about who won the debate. And you basically get both sides. I mean, you can imagine. And that's what I always check for. And you can tell when something's out of the ordinary when Fox News says the Democrat did something good and when MSNBC says a Republican did something good. So you don't get that happening very often. So as usual, they both took their sides and identified who won. But I would say the best question to ask is who lost the debate? And I would say the answer would be America. I mean, and so because we really did, I think we lost because we not only just look bad in the eyes of other countries that might have been looking at this, we felt shameful that the leaders of our country, the people that we've picked out of all 330 million citizens, this kind of is supposed to represent the best of us, and we know deep down inside that it does not. I think everybody feels like this does not represent really who we are, and so I don't think in this sense there was a clear winner of the debate. I think both sides think that they won the debate, and that's why when you look at this picture, and I think this picture is pretty clear on the way they went about the debate. They both felt like this. I've got to try hard. I'm going to push. I'm going to make my point, and everybody's going to love me for it. And so both of them feel like they did what they wanted to do, and maybe they did both accomplish their objectives. You know, I think Biden wanted to prove to people that he could that he could be gaffe-free, that I could go in and I could talk reasonably, I could be seen as an executive commander-in-chief. So he accomplished that. And I think Trump said, I'm going to go and do what I do to people. I'm going to pull them down in the gutter. I'm going to make it nasty the way that I like it. And they're going to come down here with me. And then we're going to swim around in the sewer and we're going to talk about things. And I think he accomplished that because really, I mean, because Biden often kind of went down there. And as Chris Wallace said, he wasn't maybe interrupting as much, but he went down there and was cutting, interrupting, and doing the same thing. So that's my view. What do you think, Wayne? Who won the debate?
No, yeah. I definitely don't think America won. You know, and I know this, you know, there's two sides, and one side is for, you know, the Democratic nominee and the other side is for the president. But I think, you know, almost like I felt 2016, but now it's almost getting worse, you know, that, like you said, out of 300+ million people, these are the choices that we are left with. Who made that decision? Because I know during the primaries, there were some, you know, pretty good people there who could have done much better, I think. And in 2016, 2015, they were way many better than what we ended up with. So, yeah, just a sad state of affairs and what's going on in our country, you know. And one of the things, you know, we had a couple of things we wanted to discuss. One of the things that really bothered me last night when they got to this issue of race, and a couple terms were brought up, the left, the far left, white supremacy. And there was a comment that was made. Chris Wallace tried to nail the president down to get him to condemn any white supremacist organization that was out there doing different things, or certain militia groups. Not all militias are bad, by the way, but certain militia groups who stand for, you know, just violence and things like that. And he couldn't do it. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, so, and that's, well, number one, when you got a person of the temperament of our current commander-in-chief, if you try to force him into a corner, that's when it's kind of like a caged pit bull or something, you know, oh my goodness, they're going to come out viciously and make sure that that doesn't happen. So I think it's almost like a defiance that you're not going to trap me here. And so I'm going to intentionally not meet your requests. I'm intentionally not give you. And so I'm going to play this game. And so it's a power game, I think. And I think that's what he played on that. And so I don't know what he's going to say today about those comments or whatever, but I guarantee you he'll defend what he said, and he'll feel like, and he'll give you the, I think he'll kind of show you that I answered, and here's my answer again. And he's probably going to defy again. So you're still probably not going to be clear and articulated. I think he's going to probably do the same thing again, because I think it's a power play.
Yeah, there was quite a few people I saw, you know, on social media saying things like, well, what was he talking about? They really didn't know. They didn't know who the Proud Boys were. And what does he mean, stand back and stand by? But they knew exactly. There's been a lot of comments about the Proud Boys. He recreated their own patch and logo to add in stand back and stand by. So they knew exactly what he meant, and they're standing at the ready. And whether
now, do you think that came from the Proud Boys? You think that was somebody saying, hey, let's do this?
Maybe.
Let's put this out.
Yeah, I don't know for sure at this point. Somebody posted it. Anybody could have done that until we get them to say, yeah, we did that. We don't really know. But there was also posts from some of their leadership. Again, I didn't verify that personally, just as out there floating around. But, you know, saying, yeah, President, we got your back and all of that kind of stuff. My point in that is most people understand what he meant when he said stand by. Did he?
And think about all this stuff in the context of not only what we experienced in 2016, but what the FBI has been saying of late about how both China and Russia are doing things to try to stir up the election chaos. And I mean, they very easily could be tapping into this. They're on Facebook, they're on all these things and got people putting things out. And you know, and when you think about last night, I go, that could be the thing that Russia and China has done very well.
They have.
I mean, and think about it. And then I look at the way that we're kind of responding. Maybe we're taking the bait from them, you know, maybe we're taking the bait, but you know, and so there's a responsibility between our presidential candidates to not allow this kind of stuff to separate us. And so I think it's a test of their leadership abilities that they could even, let's say that some of this stuff is being fed by them, you know, all these things surrounding that we're now fussing and fighting about. Good leadership would say, here's how we're going to be joined together. Here's how we're going to fight on this thing. Here's a united view that we all need to have. And so that's the answer why we're having, I think, this issue.
Yeah, and the last point on that, you're right. But the one thing Russia and China, anybody else didn't do was have the current president refuse to condemn, and let's just say Proud Boys, because that's the one that he called out. He refused to condemn them. But he quickly deferred to condemning Antifa. Mm-hmm. And definitely Antifa has their problems. We don't see them walking around with guns and stuff like that. But, you know, they're burning buildings, doing different things. They've come here in our Bay Area and been provocateurs. So, yeah, I'm good with condemning them as well for those things they do. But at the same time, he could have condemned the others, you know, for their violence. So anyway, that's good, man. Well, so they also talked about some law and order issues, the law and order presidents. A lot of people are saying Biden tried to sidestep that as well. What do you think?
Yeah, and even back on the other issue with the issue about Proud Boys is like, well, the thing is, why I say it was a power play, because he said, who do you want me to condemn? And he waited on them to give him somebody. And so I'm like, oh, man, that's so
you can think of anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, law and order. And so that's the same thing. And I think, actually, I think Biden was ahead because I think Trump he's asked this question before and tried to say that he tried to back Biden into a corner on law and order and said, you won't say law and order because, you know, you'll lose the left and you won't say it. And, you know, and Biden tried to answer and respond that he was for law and order and that he's been articulating that along the way. And so I think he responded, but like I said, it was so hyperbolic. The vitriol was so high, the intensity was so high, nobody was getting across. So, I mean, so it just, I don't know.
It was funny how you kept bringing up, and you know, at this point, I agree with him about Biden's part in the crime bill, that, you know, he helped Arthur and all that. But at the same time, or a little bit before that, he was the one getting full page ads in the New York Times or Post, whichever one it was, whichever newspaper it was, to, you know, bring down the Central Park 5, you know, and saying what he was saying about them. So in his purview, he was benefiting from that crime bill, but now all of a sudden he's like, you wrote the crime bill, how dare you, you know. So
it reminds me of an old Simpsons episode where Sideshow Bob, for people who watch The Simpsons, Sideshow Bob was running for office against Mayor Quimby, and Sideshow Bob had a commercial that said, Mayor Quimby released convicted felon Sideshow Bob from prison early. Vote for Sideshow Bob. So he's a guy, yeah, that kind of thing. Like, come on,
you're him.
You're him. Yeah, you're him. You're the guy.
Wow.
Whatever. So that was good. The other thing they talked about was now, and this is one this is the one that personally my view is that I think, and President Trump will lose the election, and I think it'll be based on only the COVID response. His leadership on COVID, I think, is what's going to cost him. He might win. This is just me speculating on the way I see the country at the time. I think COVID's going to cost him because not only did he not have a good answer early, we don't have a good answer late. You know, we don't have any good answers. And so I think the questions about COVID, he's been able to artfully dodge those questions, but he hasn't legitimately dodged those questions. And so they will continue to haunt him on the campaign trail. The numbers continue to escalate. And we just don't have an answer now. And his only answer is Fauci was wrong. Fauci didn't know. And it's been going back and forth. They don't know. So we don't know. And then when you don't know and you're the leader, what do you do is the question that should be followed up. And his answer is kind of like he's shrugging his shoulders going, oh, I don't know, mask work. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And in the meantime, people are losing their lives and we need to know. And it's not bad that people are losing their lives. We want someone to know, though, that we've got a plan. And I think the failure to provide a plan is one that'll get him.
Yeah, and look, I'm a small business owner. I have a couple small businesses. And so I understand what he means about the economy. And if we don't do something, yeah, we're going to lose everything. There's already been other businesses similar to mine that are gone. I'm still here. And thankfully, last week, my county here in California allowed me to reopen. I was still open. I was doing things outside, but it allowed me to bring my customers back inside, my clients, my students back inside. So I'm excited about that. We're moving, but the state is moving right now. Thank God, California is moving in the right direction regarding numbers. So data, science is important because we want to make sure, we want to do our best to try to, as we enter into this, flu season. And I'm not a person who ever gets flu shots. So I'm not that person, but I understand other people do need it because other people get it and they, I never get the flu. Thank God, So I understand both sides of that coin, but science is also important. I'm a man who believes in science, but I'm also a man of faith. So I believe we have to look at those numbers.
Are you getting the flu shot this year?
No.
Are you going to take the vaccine when it comes out?
No, sir.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. Okay. I just check.
But for those of you out there, and I never would talk negative about anybody who decides to do it. That's your choice. If you want to do that, that's your choice.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge that.
Hey, now he was talking about the fires. They went to the climate change, and of course Biden was saying that they were arguing about President Trump saying he's trying to take us to stop traveling on airplanes and cars or whatever, and Biden was playing that, hey, I'm trying to be a responsible steward of the climate of and everything like that. And so, what was your view on that? Because Trump was saying one thing. Now, this is one where I think they really do disagree on the method and how we deal with the issue of climate change.
Yeah, they kept going back and forth, the New Green Deal and all that. And Trump said, that's your plan. And Biden said, no, that's not my plan. And then one time he started explaining the New Green Deal. Then I think he remembered, oh, wait, that's not my plan. I'm like, oh, my goodness. Whose plan is it? So I think he was trying to say he likes part of it, but he's definitely not for all of it. So, I mean, yeah, one thing that Governor Newsom here in California just recently put out is that by the year, and I can't remember exact year, in the next 15 to 20 years, maybe even longer than that, 25 years, he wants there to only be, and he'll be long gone by then, electric cars sold here in California. I mean, that's a great plan to move towards that. And imagine if the whole country had the idea that we can move to an area where we no longer are dependent on fossil fuels, but now we do have the option now, but we can move towards making it mandatory. I think we're eventually going to have to do it. If our plan is going to survive, there's just certain things that we have to fix. And he did catch Trump on some things about rolling back some of the things that President Obama had instituted. He rolled those things back, and what did that do? For big companies and big corporations, but terrible for the environment.
Now, I don't know much about this kind of stuff, but what is the downside of electric cars or converting from fossil fuels to all electric or other forms of energy? What is the downside?
Yeah, I mean, I like you need more study in that area. I do know some people who own electric cars now, and it seems like a great idea. In fact, I want one. That's one of our next purchases. We want to move into that area. We got obviously gas-powered cars and vehicles right now. I want to start doing my part to help the environment. I have grandchildren just like you, and I want them to grow up in a country where they can still breathe and they can still go out and enjoy the country. I want them to be able to do that. So, but we need to research a little bit more to find out if there is a downside.
Yeah, and you're in California, so while you all might have all the electric cars, then President Trump would say, if you don't manage your forest, you're going to have smoke in the air anyway. And so y'all's air quality is going to be terrible if you don't, because he blamed, well, I don't know who he was blaming, but he was saying deforestation, that, you all are letting these trees just die because he says y'all are tree huggers out there and y'all don't want to kill a tree or burn up a tree. So y'all got all these dead trees that are falling down, and then they just explode and and fires start, and that's why y'all got so many fires.
Yeah, I think Governor Newsom will remind him that a lot of that is federal property. I think he said before up to 55% of that was on federal property. So really it's the federal government's job, not California's, even though it's in the state. So they're fighting over that too. Mm-hmm. But that was one of the things Biden brought up too about the Brazil, you know, and all the things that's happening to the trees down there and the forest down there that's being destroyed. And it's all because of money, the land. They want the land, but you know, the world needs those forests. So he wants to just give them money instead of tearing up the trees, the forest, give them money. So, I mean, not just America give them money, but the world, because the world will profit and benefit from it, not just us here in America.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. And they also brought the Amy Coney Barrett, the latest Supreme Court nominee. I didn't really hear, I don't remember hearing much about that during the debate. I'm sure they brought it up and they talked about it, but I'm having trouble recollecting what they talked about. Do you remember any big points they made about Amy Coney Barrett? Oh, I guess the big issue, of course, was Biden saying, you should wait on the American people. And Trump saying, I'm the guy.
Right, right. Yeah, he could care less about the fact that, you know, 4 years ago when that issue came up, that, you know, the Republicans stood up on the fact that this is an election year, even though it was, I think at that point, still 9 months away.
Yeah, he'd say he never said that. He would say, I didn't say that. Because that was where his
But I think he did. I think he did say it. I think he agreed with them and said, yeah, you should wait. He didn't push it big like some of the others, like Graham and Mitch McConnell did. Mm-hmm. But I think he did join in. But of course, now he says, hey, you know, we're in charge. We have the Senate. I get to make the choice. Why should I have to wait? You know, so straight up.
I hate when they do that. I mean, and every president I can remember for over the last, I guess you'd almost say 20 years, has used that phrase. And every time I hear it, I cringe. And they say, elections have consequences. And I go, oh, come on. I mean, that's terrible to say as a leader, because when they elected you, they didn't elect you to say, well, just because I'm in charge, I can do what I want to do, and I don't have to be concerned about the other side. We're really looking for leadership that says we are in America, and the leader who says, I'm concerned about all people, because you hear these statements about we're not a Black America, we're not a white America, we're not a Republican America, we're not a Democrat America. You hear those platitudes, but we haven't seen leaders recently who said in the crucible of the hour, in the midst of the controversy, okay, let me do the thing that's good for all of us. Let's do the thing. They throw that out and say elections have consequences. And that means, okay, all right, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm not concerned about the other side. And that's why our country, I think, is so split. That's why we're like almost equally split. That's why whoever wins the election, you're going to have just as many disenfranchised people as enfranchised, regardless of which way it goes, because nobody seems to be uniting. And that's what I think we really need.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So in all that, what do you think was the best moment? Well, or first, let me ask you, what do you think about the job of Chris Wallace? What do you think about Chris Wallace? Then we'll get to some closing stuff with the best and worst moments in the debate.
You know, I know he's a Fox News host and all that, but I actually kind of appreciate Chris Wallace. When I watch him, you know, I watched his previous interviews of the president. I watch him do other things. And of course, last night, I think he tries to do a fair job. I think he tries to, you know, hold, in the case of last night, he tried to hold both of them accountable. Even some more times, he tried to hold the president accountable to the promises that his campaign staff made about sticking to 2 minutes uninterrupted. He tried to hold him to that. Of course, the president just blew him off, you know, no concern, no care. So, you know, I think overall, Chris Wallace probably did the best that he could, given the cards that he was dealt. You're seeing it a lot now, like, too bad he didn't have a button that could have just muted the microphone. Yeah, that would have been cool. He's not a strong personality in the sense of, you know, like we talked about some of the people who they should do on Saturday Night Live. But I think overall, I think he did, you know, the best he could. I think he did a good job.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing I like about Chris Wallace is that anytime he does an interview, he's going to ask the hard questions, and he's going to try to hold your feet to the fire on those hard questions. that was tough because, like I said, because the candidates in this particular case did not act like adults. I mean, I think if they had acted like adults, he'd been better at doing that, being able to do that. And he still tried to do that, but he spent more of his time doing daycare stuff and saying, sir, please, would you stop? Sir, please stop. You know, sound like me and Beckett, my 3-year-old grandson. Beckett, stop. Beckett, I told you stop. You know, but actually Beckett stops usually after the first or second time. You know, these guys didn't stop and it kept going on. So kind of sad. All right. So of all the debate topics and everything that they talked about, or what was the highlight? What was the one thing that lingers in your mind? What was your most highlighted time in the debate, you know?
Man,
because I had this best and worst, but I'm just going to go with what was the biggest moment in the debate to you?
I'm gonna tell you, man, I'm probably gonna have to defer to you on that one. I was really, I was just really disheartened with the whole thing. I can't say that I had a best moment. I can't say that I enjoyed any of it. There's a couple laughs in there, but really they weren't laughs. It was just sadness. I'm sick for the nation. And I know a lot of people think, well, at least just vote Trump out. A lot of people I know think that way, and I understand why. And I agree, but I just don't know if Biden is any much different. He's another side. So yeah. Did you have a best moment?
Well, and that's the thing, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about that because I sit in so much in the middle. I call myself the most objective guy on the planet. But anyway, so I think I sit, and anybody can say that, but it doesn't really mean it's true. But I really do sit in the middle. And I got so many people that I care about on both sides, and I'd say even the extremes of both sides. I mean, I got some pro-Trumpers and I got some anti-Trumpers that just hate him or whatever, and who would love anybody but Trump. So, and all these people I'm in deep relationship with. So what happens after a debate like this is I get messages from both of them. So I've got messages from both of them, and they're saying why Trump won and all the good that Trump did, and the same thing from people who support Biden, because I sit so deeply in the middle there. And sitting there in the middle, I just kind of shake my head and go, no. And so I didn't really have any, like you said, I mean, I felt just like you did. I was so saddened by what was happening, the level of decorum and discourse that was going on. I just felt this, and that's the thing today. It's hard for people to put it to words. What was that thing that we actually felt? What did we witness? What does that say about us and all those things? So I just didn't have a best moment. And if there was a worst moment, it was that the 90 minutes that the debate lasted, that it lasted so long. I was thinking from Chris Wallace's viewpoint, the only thing I think that really would have been controversial that he could have done would have been to say, gentlemen, I think we're going to have to end this debate. This is not what America wants. That would have been very controversial.
That would have been huge.
But it carries that, there's money that's sponsored and all this stuff, whatever. But that would have been cool to see somebody do. Say,
and walk off the stage.
To say, gentlemen, this is not what I came here for. This is not what I signed up for. And this is not what the American people need. We're going to end this. If you gentlemen cannot have a debate on the level of political discourse at a level that is good for the American people, I'm out. He'd have dropped his mic and walked out.
That would have been
Chris Wallace dropped the mic and walk out, because I mean, that's kind of the way the American people all felt, I'm sure. I'm not going to say all the American people, because like I said, you had a lot of people who were saying, yeah, good one, Trump, or good one, Biden, whatever, because they were so against the other guy. But I just think that's what would have been good.
I will say this, because I know a lot of them, they were trying to go after some of the undecided. There's a lot of people, I don't know the numbers, are still undecided, because kind of like you and I'm not a Democrat or Republican either. I've always considered myself, or at least in my adult mature years, as an independent. So I'm looking for the best candidate that I think at that time. But I saw a good friend of mine who, a younger man, said the same thing. He's always been independent. But last night, the thing that moved him to the Democratic side was when they were dealing with that issue of white supremacy groups. And he said that, that's the thing that moved me, when he was unwilling. And I think that's probably one of the worst moments in the whole debate, when he was unwilling to say, when he condemned one group, okay, and he was unwilling to condemn the other group, this young man, that was enough for him. So I think a lot of people, that's going to be an issue for them, because he wouldn't do it. So if there was any worst moments, that was one of them.
Okay. Well, good stuff. And hey, that's gonna kind of wrap it up for our show today. And as we talk about on Erase Trace the American Unity Movement and the Wayne Carlen Show, we want you to be a part of the solution, so you can have opportunity to do that. And if you didn't notice, when we were playing the intro music, I was flashing my new hoodie, my one hoodie, because we're going for one. We're going for that unity thing, which they need to be doing that in these presidential campaigns. So you can be a part of the solution by supporting us. Go out and buy some of this gear that's out there online. Get your mask, get a T-shirt, sweatshirt, or any of those things that talk about unity so that we can walk about unity. And if nothing else, you can always donate, because we definitely can use your donations. Because I tell you what, a lot of other people who are talking, whether it's the what do you call the boys, the Boogaloo Boys, or any of those
Proud Boys,
or Proud Boys, or any of those things, I guarantee you those people get funded by people who will support that cause. But there's the Americans who are in the middle, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to grab those Americans who are in the middle, who really believe that we, the people, can do much greater things than some elected government official or some of these other organizations who are not about unity. And so that's why we are the American Unity Movement. We desire to bring people together in the middle and say, I appreciate you, I understand you, I love you, and let's work to do some good things for America and make the country it needs to be. So with that said, you can donate, you can volunteer, and you can always tune in again next week to the Wayne Carlen Show. Wayne, you got any closing remarks?
Yeah, just last thing, we didn't talk about what's going on in Kentucky at all, but the grand jury transcripts are going to be released. So we're going to have to address that next week, because that's not over yet.
Cool. Good stuff that we'll talk about on next week's edition of the Wayne Carlen Show. We'll see y'all then.
Peace, everybody.
Remember the hoodies. Remember the hoodies. Remember the hoodies. Remember the hoodies. See y'all next week.